We're going to keep moving to something I've been trying to talk about for a week or more. But Dan Campbell is now saying he got doxxed. That, you know, his daughter's classmate or something doxed him. He's talked about how he's had to change his phone number. He's talked about how he's had to sell his house. We've seen Will Levis, the quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, has talked about changing up his phone number. We've seen video of Daniel Jones getting harassed by fans after the game, waiting to harass him. We've seen it with Marlon Humphrey. We got a problem here in sports in terms of the intimacy and the entitlement, the expectations for fans and to have direct access because of social media that wasn't there previously. And now we also, this goes along with these guys making all of this money. People are like, hey, man, there's got to be a price for all this money and fame. And so you have to deal with this level of harassment that's becoming pretty pervasive. I feel, this is the one thing I feel sympathy for with these athletes and Dan Campbell's a coach, but I think this is the influence of gambling and fantasy and elevated expectations through social media. Everybody feels like, you know, people can tweet directly at you, you respond to them, and now all of a sudden it's like you know them and you have a right to be upset with them, show up at their house, dox them, and all this other stuff. This is a troubling pattern, and is going to, athletes and coaches have a right to take measures to protect themselves and distance themselves from fans. Am I missing anything here, Steve? Start us out here.
No, but it is like, to me, it really speaks and highlights the lack of civility in modern day culture and society. I read stories where Joe Paterno for years had his phone number listed in the phone book. And I guess once in a while someone would call and he'd actually have a friendly conversation with them. You know, the great thing about sports, one of the great things, are the fans. One of the absolute worst things is fanatics. I do think there is a difference. And look, it's one thing to be upset at any coach or player. I don't think it gives them the right to start crossing boundaries. And my advice to any coach or athlete now is, during your playing days or during your tenure in a city, it's clear. Live in a gated community and don't have a landline. I think that's where we are in society. I'm actually surprised that a classmate of Dan Campbell's daughter, I mean, did she have a 3-team parlay? I mean, was she really upset that Dan Campbell kept punting or faking field goals on his 2 yards? Look, I'm upset too, but if I saw Dan Campbell, I would just leave him alone. I'd be like, Dan, you're good, man. But again, you don't hear of this many things happening even 10 to 15 years ago.
TJ, before you jump in, I want to play just to get everybody up to speed. This is what happened with this is Daniel Jones after a game. And look, high round draft pick. He's not that good of a player. He's making $40 million a year. I just don't – he should just be able to leave the game, go home. I don't know if he needs to face a level fans waiting around after the game to boo him. Let's play that clip.
I need $1 million. I need $1 million. I need $1 million, Daniel. I need $1 million, Danny. I need $1 million. Give me a. You stop. Same thing every year.
Look, I'm not throwing a huge pity party for Daniel Jones. This isn't like he's not, doesn't feel life or death, but who knows? It could get out of hand. But I've actually experienced what he's talking about, and I felt like I deserved it. I don't think he deserves it, and maybe I hate to say, I don't hate to say it because he doesn't mind, but Frank Martin, the head coach of UMass, used to be the head coach of Kansas State, used to be the head coach of South Carolina. One of the guys I respect the most. He's one of these coaching guys that, I mean, really hit it off with. And we didn't even start off as great. We started out as enemies when he was at Kansas State, and then we became friends and supporter. And Frank probably will come to roll call next year. But then I say all that to say, when Frank Martin was at Kansas State, and they had Michael Beasley, they had Bill Walker, and this is during the time when I wasn't super supportive of Frank Martin. I didn't understand what he was doing, didn't have a lot of respect for him. I walked into Kansas State, I think was either playing Kansas or someone else, but I walked into Bramlage Coliseum, their basketball arena, right before a tip-off. And I'm talking about, if Bramlage holds 13,000, 12,990 of the people in that arena were booing me as I walked from the tunnel to my seat on press row, on the front row of that, booing me, the whole arena. And it's all about stuff that I had written about Kansas State, not being on board with what they were doing. And I'm telling you, I didn't feel sorry for myself. I was like, these people have lost their mind. They're so focused on me. But I got it. I'm an outspoken columnist. I talk smack on their favorite team. I say things they didn't write. It's part of the give and take between you're going to be as outspoken as I am. People are going to be outspoken back. I got it. Didn't particularly like it, and people eventually got over it. And years down the road, Frank and I become great friends and supportive of each other. But as a opinionist, I get it. As an athlete that just goes out and plays football, I just don't think this level of harassment or this level of animus, booing during the game, after the game, gloves should come off and leave people alone. And I just attach it to everything going on with Dan Campbell. I could play you the video of Marlon Humphrey that had a poor game and got harassed. But anyway, now, TJ, your thoughts. There's nothing better at the end of a long day than sitting down in your favorite easy chair with a glass of your favorite whiskey. And hey, if it turns out that with every glass, you're helping to support a great American cause, doesn't get much better than that, doesn't taste much better than that. It's time to chart your own course with Flying Ace whiskeys from Craft Co. Inspired by generations of American aviators and proudly made right here in the United States, Flying Ace is not only making amazing whiskeys, they're also committed to supporting our brave troops and their families through their partnership with Folds of Honor. They're providing scholarships to families of America's fallen or disabled, and these scholarships allow families to begin to chart their own new course. After experiencing great sacrifice, Flying Ace whiskeys are American proud because they're American made, and they're American proud because they're helping to support our heroes and their families. Don't wait around. Today's the day to get your own and see what all the hype is about. Buy online at flyingacesspirits.com. Use the promo code AMERICA to get free shipping. That's Flying Aces, ace with an S at the end, spirits.com. Promo code AMERICA for free shipping.
I don't think it's new as far as like 2024 new. I don't even think it's 2015 new. You remember the guy by the name of Kyle Brotzman, the kicker at Boise State when they were 10-0 playing Nevada, and he missed a 26-yarder at the end of regulation.
Oh, he deserved it.
And a 29-yarder at the end.
Anything shorter than 35. You actually. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And that guy, I mean, they had a chance to play in the national title that year.
Yeah.
And now the 2010 was one of those years where you did have a chance. It was pretty wide open. And that guy got so many death threats and almost chased him out. I mean, destroyed. This is 2010. Social media was just ascending at this point. I didn't make my Twitter until 2009. And so it was not nearly what it was today. This has been happening. I think humans have sat around forever in their living room and say, that guy owes me his whole paycheck. I can't believe he just wasted 3 hours watching it. They've been doing this forever. The difference is I don't think they've been stalking people forever, waiting outside and screaming and harassing at them. But some of this comes with what I think you're talking about is Daniel Jones. I'm sure he wanted it. I'm sure he's making $40 million a year. You took the money. And when people think you have a terrible contract and they're footing the bill because their ticket prices go through the roof, they feel like they get a license to harass you. I don't agree with that, but it does make some sense. If you were an underpaid quarterback, they probably wouldn't be doing this to you. If you were Daniel Jones, who came in, he was on his rookie contract. Man, we're getting a steal. He sucked today, but man, we're paying him nothing. We got all these receivers. We got a great defense because Daniel took a discount. He's not doing that. He took a massive contract. Now they can't pay a bunch of other people because he's making $160 million over the next 4 years.
But TJ,
Get some of the, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, to that point then, if I'm going to boo anybody and stalk them and heckle them as they go to the car, I'm looking at the GM, Joe Shine. He's the guy to blame.
Yeah.
There's never been a player that said, oh, no, that's way too much money. I'm so mediocre. I only deserve 2/3 of this. You have to blame the management. And people know what he looks like now because HBO did a Hard Knocks on the offseason of the New York Football Giants. And I want to make it clear, people, leave Joe Shine alone too, okay? So I'm not advocating for that. I just want to make that clear.
It's part of why they're not having the same fun either, though, Jason.
Yeah.
That when you take so much money, the pressure comes along with it. Brett Favre wasn't making nearly this money in 1997. It's a lot easier to just go out and have some fun when there is not a paycheck hanging over your head that dictates what fans get to do to you, what the expectations are, what the media gets to do to you, and the pressure for you to keep your own job.
I would go to Butter, but I just saw Butter's arms on the screen, and they're nearly blinding. I mean, they're so white, they're nearly blind. Can you look at that? I mean, they're nearly blinding. But I do want to. Talking this through helps me because I got to be transparent. I'm sitting here criticizing fans for this, but when I was younger, as I sit here and think it through, I was capable of this. When I was. You talk about there's never been a more passionate Pacer fan than me as a kid. And so went to high school with a girl named Gail Lamy, probably junior high and high school with her. Gail, her dad was Bob Lamy. He was the play-by-play announcer for the Pacers. He eventually the Colts. He hosted a sports talk show. And as a kid, 14, 15, 16, I used to call his radio show and just go off on the Pacers and the organization, and mostly at the management because they poorly constructed the team. And I remember whatever year Stuart Gray, Steve, what year he's UCLA center,
That had
he
to
came
be
out
85,
of college.
86.
Yeah, they drafted him, and I was livid. And he was horrible. I used to call Bob Lamy's show and screaming, yeah. And then whatever year Adrian Branch played at Maryland. He was whatever year he came out of college. I believe the Pacers in the second round had a chance to draft Adrian Branch, and I was big on Adrian Branch. He got in trouble for drugs. I called him the dope man, and I was very upset they didn't draft the dope man. And I went to the Pacers draft party at Market Square Arena. I believe they selected Billy Martin. I'm doing this all off memory, but because it's that vivid to me as a kid. The Pacers drafted Billy Martin, I think, from Georgetown. Some kid named Martin from Georgetown, and I was irate. And Donnie Walsh, I think, was the general manager at the time. I'm high up in the stands, and I got Donnie Walsh's attention. And I had to be 17, 18 years old at this time. You dumb MF. You could have drafted the dope man. You could have drafted the dope man. You drafted Billy Martin. I was a nut. And that was me. And so I'm sitting here judging people and like, holy cow, that could have been me.
Don't miss a second of Fearless. Hit that like button and subscribe to keep up with our latest content. Don't miss a second of Fearless. Hit that like button and subscribe to keep up with our latest content.